Everybody like and subscribe, praise the bell icon. Story number 1.
It was just after 2 a.m. when Jason turned off the interstate and onto the old county road that twisted through the woods. He was exhausted, driving home from a weekend trip to visit his brother in the next state over. The main highway had been closed off for construction, and GPS rerouted him through this forgotten back road that hadn't seen maintenance in years. No streetlights, no signs of civilization, just dense trees pressing in from either side, and the occasional animal darting across the cracked pavement. His headlights were the only light for miles. Jason was about 30 minutes into this detour when he first saw the car. It was an old blue sedan, pulled off on the side of the road. Its hazard lights were blinking, slow and rhythmically, casting strange orange glows into the woods. He slowed instinctively, unsure whether to stop. As he passed, he glanced at the driver's seat. It was empty, so was the passenger seat. The windows were fogged up from the inside, except for a smeared handprint on the rear passenger window. He kept driving. Maybe a mile later, he passed something else. A figure, standing in the ditch off the right shoulder. Jason's stomach dropped. It looked like a woman in a white dress, her head bowed, hair hanging down in messy clumps. She wasn't waving for help. She wasn't even moving, just standing there, still. As he passed, he didn't look directly at her. He didn't want to see her face. Jason's heart was racing now. He laughed nervously to himself, gripping the wheel tighter. "You're just tired," he muttered. "You're freaking yourself out." But the forest felt wrong, too quiet, the kind of quiet that made your ears ring. He turned the music back on to calm his nerves, just some light classic rock, but the radio started crackling like it was underwater. Then the music slowed, slurred, as if something were dragging it down. He hit the power button. Around the next bend, he saw the car again. Same blue sedan, same blinking hazards, same smeared handprint on the window. It was impossible. There was no turnoff, no way it could have passed him without him seeing it. But there it was, parked just as before. Jason didn't stop. He floored it this time, flying past it, swearing under his breath. A part of him wanted to turn around. Another part said, "Don't. Keep driving. Just keep going." 15 minutes passed. The woods seemed thicker now, as if the trees had closed in. He hadn't seen another house, another road, another anything. His gas tank was below a quarter. His phone said no service. He was starting to sweat despite the AC. Then the figure appeared in the middle of the road, not in the ditch, not on the side, standing directly in front of his car. Jason screamed and jerked the wheel, just barely swerving around her. He caught a glimpse as he passed. Her face was gray, bloated, like something that had been underwater too long. Her mouth was open far too wide, and her eyes were white. He didn't stop, didn't slow down. He kept going, checking his rearview mirror, but she wasn't there. The road curved, and he saw the sedan again. Only this time, the trunk was open. He passed it going 70, nearly skidding on the gravel shoulder. Ahead, a sign. Salvation. A gas station up ahead. Light. People. He could breathe again. But as he pulled into the gas station lot, his heart stopped. The blue sedan was parked by the pumps, its hazard lights still blinking, the trunk still open, no one inside. Jason threw his car into reverse and peeled out of the lot. He didn't stop driving until the sun came up, until his phone buzzed back to life and GPS finally reconnected. He never could find that route again, no matter how many times he tried to retrace his drive. And sometimes, late at night, he still sees the hazard lights blinking in the corner of his rearview mirror, even when there's nothing behind him.
Story number 2.
It was a quiet Friday night when Jenna decided to take the long way home from her friend's house, hoping to clear her mind. The roads were nearly empty, and the only sound was the soft hum of her car's engine as she cruised down the lonely highway. Street lights flickered sporadically, casting eerie shadows over the dense woods that lined both sides of the road. The air was thick with a strange stillness, like the world was holding its breath. About 30 minutes into the drive, her headlights caught something unusual by the roadside, a figure standing motionless, almost blending into the darkness. At first, Jenna thought it was just a hitchhiker, but something about the way the person stood didn't feel right. Against her better judgment, she slowed down and rolled the window down halfway. The figure was tall, unnaturally thin, and wore clothes that looked tattered and outdated. Its face was obscured by a wide-brimmed hat pulled low, but Jenna could swear she saw pale skin glinting in the light. The figure raised a trembling hand and pointed further down the road, then turned and began to walk away slowly into the woods. Jenna's heart pounded. She felt an urge to follow, to see if the person needed help, but a cold chill ran down her spine. She shook her head, slammed the window up, and pressed the accelerator, hoping to put distance between her and the strange encounter. The highway stretched on in front of her, empty and endless. But just as she began to relax, her radio crackled and static burst through the speakers. Then, faintly at first, a voice whispered her name. Jenna. The hairs on the back of her neck stood up. She glanced in the rearview mirror. Nothing but empty road. She flicked the radio off, her breath coming quick and shallow. Suddenly the headlights flickered, then died. The car coasted to a stop, swallowed by the darkness. Jenna fumbled for her phone, but the screen stayed black. No signal. Panic set in. She tried to restart the engine, nothing. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw headlights approaching fast, blinding and relentless. The car screeched to a halt just feet from hers. A shadowy figure emerged from the driver's side. But before Jenna could react, a cold voice whispered from the darkness, "You shouldn't have ignored me." She blinked, and the figure was gone. The lights vanished, the radio sputtered back to life, playing static and whispers. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. A single text message, "Look behind you." Heart pounding, Jenna glanced into the backseat mirror. There, sitting silently with a crooked smile, was the pale figure from the roadside, its eyes black and hollow, waiting for her to make a move. She floored the gas, tires screeching as she raced down the highway, the figure's hollow laughter echoing in the rearview mirror, growing louder with every mile. No matter how fast she drove, it stayed, an unrelenting nightmare on wheels. To this day, Jenna swears the figure still rides with her on lonely nights, a ghostly passenger she can never shake. And sometimes when the road is too quiet and the darkness too thick, she hears that whisper again, calling her name, urging her to stop, to join it forever on that terrifying late-night drive.
Story number 3.
It was one of those nights where the world felt silent but heavy, the kind of silence that presses down on you and makes every sound seem louder, sharper. Jake had just finished a late shift at the diner and was heading home on a stretch of road that cut through thick woods. It was well past midnight, and the only light came from his headlights piercing the darkness. The road was empty, straight and narrow, perfect for a quick drive, but also the kind of place that made your skin crawl if you thought about it too much. About 10 minutes in, Jake noticed something strange, a car tailing him at a steady distance. It wasn't flashing lights, just silently following, matching his every move. He slowed down, then sped up. The car did the same. There were no other cars around, no gas stations, no houses. Just the road, the woods, and this shadow behind him. Suddenly, Jake's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Don't look in the rear view." His heart slammed against his ribs. He glanced back through the mirror, and for a split second, he thought he saw a figure sitting in the back seat of the car behind him. But when he looked again, the seat was empty. He tried to shrug it off as a trick of the shadows and focused on the road. Then his headlights caught something, a man standing on the side of the road. He was wearing a long, tattered coat, his face obscured by shadows, but what made Jake freeze was how unnaturally still he was. The man didn't move, didn't blink, just stared. Jake slowed down, debating whether to stop and help or just drive past. Before he could decide, the man suddenly stepped forward, emerging into the light, only to vanish into thin air as if he had never been there. Jake's grip on the wheel tightened. Then his phone buzzed again. "You're almost home." But Jake lived nearly 30 minutes away. He was nowhere near home. The dread in his chest twisted like a knife. Suddenly, the car behind him sped up and slammed its lights onto Jake's rear window. In that brief flash, Jake caught a glimpse of the driver, an impossibly pale face, eyes hollow and black, lips stretched into a cruel grin. Jake slammed his foot on the gas and the car behind roared to catch up. His heart pounded so loud he thought the engine might die. Then the road ahead took a sharp curve, and as Jake swerved, the tailing car disappeared. He didn't look back until he pulled into his driveway, drenched in sweat. He fumbled for his phone to call someone, anyone, but it was dead, completely drained, despite being fully charged minutes ago. As he stepped out, he heard it, the faintest whisper coming from the woods lining his yard. "Welcome home, Jake." He never told anyone what happened that night, but sometimes when he's driving late again, he swears he sees that same car in his rearview mirror, always just a little too close, always with that pale face watching, waiting, and smiling.